Hello guys, thank you so much for coming back to watch another video on my channel. Devil May Cry is one of the most successful franchises owned by Capcom alongside Resident Evil and Monster Hunter. It all started from Devil May Cry 1, which is literally one of the best games in the franchise. So why I think the Capcom needs to do a remake and why I think the Capcom would do a remake for this game. Let's find out together in this video. Before I start the video, as I always ask you guys, if you do like this video and do like the content I've made on my channel, do make sure to stick around by subscribing to my channel. It would allow me to make more of these videos for you guys. Devil May Cry 1 was supposed to be an offshoot Resident Evil 4 title, but it deviated so much from the Resident Evil franchise and how the game turned out to be that they decided to make this into its own franchise and hence started this whole Devil May Cry franchise. Devil May Cry came out at the time when the arcade style games were quite popular. However, Devil May Cry 1 stood out the most out of all the games in that era. It had one of the best simplistic combat mechanics which allowed different skill sets. You had puzzle mechanics, it had really good beautiful level systems where you had different variety of boss battles at the end of each level. And now we know Devil May Cry is one of the most popular franchises from Capcom. Now Devil May Cry came back with the Devil May Cry 5, which is also one of my favorite games. It's actually played really well, especially they elevated the character Nero and it gave so many abilities which made me enjoy the game so much. Now at the end of the Devil May Cry 5, it's already been alluded, it's passing the torch moment that Dante and Virgil now going offshoot doing their own adventures, and the mainline hero, the protagonist of this franchise, is going to be down to Nero, who's going to be carrying this franchise moving forward with Devil May Cry 6. Now Capcom has been very successful revitalizing their old games like Resident Evil 2, which is turned into massive success with the Resident Evil 2 remake. Same goes for Resident Evil 4, which people thought they're not going to be able to pull it off with this remake, and they did. And to be honest, I prefer Resident Evil 4 remake over Resident Evil 4 game, and especially this RE engine is working so well for them. It's optimized the game so well that they can do now any game they want to, and there's plenty of games, and I'm going to do a separate videos for those games which I think deserve a remake treatment from Capcom, just like Dino Crisis, but I'll do that separate video to talk about that. However, I think Devil May Cry would be the second in line which requires remake treatment, just like they did with the Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 4 remake. Now Capcom does understand the frustration sometimes it gets when the market becomes oversaturated and they do the same formula over and over again, and they don't want to do that with their main successful Resident Evil franchise. So they want people to have a different attention on their other big IPs which they hold right now. Now I personally think Devil May Cry 1 would get a remake. The reason being is because the Devil May Cry mainline series, just like Resident Evil is, would focus on the brand new protagonist. We have now Nero, who will be running this franchise moving forward, where Dante would now have his own separate journeys where people who never had a chance to play the original Devil May Cry titles like Devil May Cry 1, 2 and 3, they can go back to it by doing this remake treatment while they also carry the franchise moving forward with a brand new protagonist. So it's not a rocket science. Capcom is already doing that with the Resident Evil franchise, that you are now moving forward with a brand new experiment. So you have new protagonists like Ethan Winters from Resident Evil 7 and 8, and potentially will have a brand new protagonist in Resident Evil 9, while you keep in the legacy of your old characters by doing the remakes, so fans can enjoy both sort of games and the remakes at how the franchise started while also seeing where the franchise now moving forward. And the same thing can be done with the Devil May Cry franchise, and Capcom knows and how much they love this franchise themselves, so they know it's very successful right now, especially with the Devil May Cry 5, because there was a big gap between Devil May Cry 4 and Devil May Cry 5. So they managed to make this a successful Devil May Cry game, and I think they're going to continue forward with the franchise. So the best way to do it, Dante is still the fan favorite character, Virgil still is one of the fan favorite characters. The best way to do it is to go back, do a remake rather than making the timeline more confusing, and then you can still continue and bring them back into, let's say in the future, Devil May Cry titles, while keeping the fans up to date with these old legacy characters and also with the brand new characters in the mainline series. Now Capcom has already been listening to their fans because they've been doing recent surveys where they've been asking what sort of remakes they want from Capcom for Resident Evil games, and they already bring the Devil May Cry franchise back to the main line rather than going back to the reboot they tried to do, which wasn't loved by the fans and they received so much hate due to making that game. So I personally think Devil May Cry would be the game which would eventually get a remake, and I think might be the next remake we might hear from Capcom, and I think it has the most potential of getting remake treatment from Capcom of how successful the Devil May Cry franchise is. And I think they need to utilize all of these old IPs they have with the different franchises they own. They don't just want to go back to Resident Evil and continue to remake and oversaturate their market. They will go back to Devil May Cry, and I think they might go to do remake for Dino Crisis, and there's a lot of good franchises they own right now. So I think with this RE engine it would allow them to do it because this brand new engine is quite easy to use. So what do you guys think? This was just my opinion, as I think Devil May Cry 1 deserves a remake and would eventually get a remake treatment from Capcom. Please do let me know your suggestions in the comment section down below in this video. So that's it for the video guys. I'll catch you again with another video on my channel. Until then, look after yourself. Have a good one.